All right, cool. It's great to see everybody again. It's been a little while. Since I've been gone, I've actually recently become certified in behavioral analysis. And I've had the skill set of being able to sell very, very well. And I didn't understand why until I became certified in behavioral analysis and understood that personality styles are are essential for you to understand to communicate with people effectively. And so at first, it was just kind of a default thing for me. I just would be able to talk to somebody and understand how to talk to them. Then I understood the science behind it. And it's called, how many of you are familiar with the DISC? Anybody heard of DISC? Awesome. So I when it was first introduced to me, it was fascinating to me. It blew my mind to just look at somebody, have one or two word exchanges, and identify how they desire to be talked to, how they act towards certain situations, and understand how you had to get a message across to them. So I wanted to share that today with my experience with sales on how you really sell each personality style and how you can identify it within the first few minutes of you talking to them. So first, before we do that, we got to understand what. Actually, let's start with this here. What is the DISC? The DISC is a behavior analysis that basically describes the way people interact and the way they do things. And so there is the D. The D stands for dominant. There's the I. The I stands for influencer. There is the C, or let's do the S is over here. The C stands for conscientious or compliant. And then the S stands for steady. So I'm gonna start with the two that are like clearly in this room right now. I mean, everyone's in this room, but let's first start with the I. It's Heartfield, right? Heartfield,
Heart-centered.
Heart-centered. Wow, that's a fascinating name. Wow, Heart-centered. That's your business.
No, Piedmont Injury Massage.
So your name is Heart-centered.
No, my name is Heart.
Okay. Heart-centered. Okay, all right, cool. Heart. All right, cool. No, you're good. So heart. Heart is an I to the core. Heart is the foundation of every relationship and every friendship. She is the person that is always going to entertain. She's always going to make people feel well. She's going to make people feel excited. They're very enthusiastic about the things that you do. And one of the ways you first notice it is when she gave her video testimonial. The most important thing that she valued here was relationships, because she is very good at relationships, at getting people to like her and enjoy her presence. Would you say that's accurate at all?
Some days.
Some days. Yeah, I get it, right? Some days, for sure. But when I've come across her, even when I first met her, I just realized she was very, very good at lightening herself up and bringing the attention, because people really value what she says, and she's good at lighting up the room. The I's, it stands for influencer, because they are entertainers. So what's super important for an I, entertainers. Entertainer. Hopefully that's right. Hopefully that's about right. What's so important about the I is what's very important for them is social time. And so when you're selling to an I, if you don't create time for you to have personable relationship, they're going to think that you actually don't really care about them. And a lot of the times, and this is not with every I, but typically with I's, their biggest fear is fear of lack of social approval or fear of rejection. And so when you feel like, hey, I really don't value you as a person, I just want something from you, they can sense that ASAP. So you have to be able to create time to show that you care about them by allowing them to speak. They are really, really good speakers. They have no problem getting in front of a room and talking in front of a room at all. They can do it with ease. It's very, very simple for them. And when they do talk, they're not just talking nonsense. They're talking stuff for you to be able to listen to them, right? But sometimes what they can do at times is they can ramble. And when they're rambling, they tend to continue to go and go and go and go. And so if you don't interrupt them or don't stop them, they won't stop. They'll continue to keep talking. They continue to keep laughing, continue to keep having fun. So if you want to sell to an I properly, you really have to create time to allow them to be themselves. Let them speak. In the middle of you sharing something with them, there's a good chance that they'll come up with the story. A story is something relating to what you just said, and you don't want to interrupt that story. You want to allow them to say their story because then they're going to end up telling you why they would buy from you. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Sweet. Okay. The next, we're going to go with the C. The C stands for compliant or conscientious. We're going to go with the compliant word because I don't want to spell the other one. Okay. Compliant. The compliant person, they are extremely analytical. What was your name again, bro? Nick. So when Nick came in the room, he said he stayed up all night reading through or listening through every YouTube video. That is a C to the core. The C people are extremely hard to get over because most of the time when they ask you a question, they've probably done more research than you. And if you don't show that you're an expert in what you're talking about, they will discredit what you say and you completely lost them. So the C's are the people where your presentation needs to be on point. And you need to answer questions that most people are not asking. And if you're not prepared for that, the best way to get to them is by directing them to a source who can. Because if you try to answer the question and you answer it incorrectly, you've lost their attention. They no longer want anything to do with you. So they're analytical. They're very analytical. Analytical. Is that right?
Close enough.
Yeah, cool.
And that's compliant, right?
That's compliant, yeah. So the C types, they're very compliant, they're very analytical. They're very detail-oriented, extremely detail-oriented. Detailed. Hopefully. Listen, I'm not an English major, okay? So don't get mad at me. But they're very detail-oriented. They know the process of stuff. They spend hours and hours researching. They know exactly what they're talking about. And they're typically pretty good speakers as well. One thing with them is these C's, they fear criticism. Their biggest fear is being told that what they did and the research they did was incorrect and it was wrong. And when you tell them that, it makes them think that, oh my gosh, I'm in the wrong sources. How did I do that? I messed up. So the last thing you want to tell a C is how wrong he is. You don't want to tell him that's actually the incorrect information. You want to direct him. Directing him is by validating what he says and then showing him another way where he can go do research about it. Right? Perfect example, a client of mine who he is a C to the core. First time I went to his house, I'm in sales, so I do roofing sales. First time I went to his house, spent 4 hours with him. It was just the first time, and typically we do one presentation, and I'm gonna get to something this here in a sec too. Typically you can do one presentation and it works all well. With him, I already knew from the moment I got to his house, he stepped outside with me. I'm like, oh God, here we go. Yeah, so we started walking his entire house. He started telling me everything, blah, 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 okay? Sent him the estimate. One thing that's super important with C's is you have to follow up with them. Like, of people following up, they're the ones you have to follow up with because they're going to buy from the ones who answer their questions the most. And the only way they'll answer their question is if you get in front of them so they can ask you. You got to call them, you got to reach out, you got to send emails because if you don't, somebody else will, and then they'll ask them questions, and if they get it answered, they're going to buy from them. So, I went through the long presentation. Finally, I leave, right? It's been about a week and a half, okay? So I notice, okay, this is one person that I absolutely must follow up with. I reach back out. To him. He's like, oh, yeah, I got your estimate. Oh, by the way, I just had a few more questions, too. So that was my cue. I need to go back to his house. I went back to his house. I spent another hour and a half there going over questions, redoing questions that we already went over, but he had more detail because he did more research. These questions got very intense. I was like, oh God. So I had to go to the expert in our company who's been in the field for 30 years. So now we're at trip number 3. Trip number 3 comes out. So this is about 3 days later. I bring the expert, right? Now what's so important with the C's is, like I said, he already knows a lot of things and he remembers what he told you. So your ability to bring back up to a C what you've talked about, it's just credit to them. They're just like, oh, he's a good guy. I like him. And then Daryl comes out. And Daryl just, oh my gosh, they just have fireworks of emotions and conversation. And I'm like, nice. And then after us being out there for an hour and a half again, he finally says, all right, cool, Josh, I'm ready to move forward. But the biggest thing that I wanted to say about the fear of criticism, he had an issue with his chimney. He felt as if it was leaning. Well, I am not a chimney expert, so I'm not going to tell you you're wrong, although I know there's nothing wrong with the chimney. The chimney is going to be fine. But he felt a whole lot more comfortable because of the 4 estimates that he got. I was the only one that said, yeah, it'd be a good idea if you probably get a masonry or a brick masonry out here to check it. And he always brought that up when on the last day when I saw him, he was like, yeah, so yeah, I'm gonna get the mason guy out here. The other 3 guys said it was good, but I just wanna make sure. I'm like, yeah, it was a great idea. And so before he moved forward with me, the brick mason guy has to go out there and do all that he's done, but he is looking forward to move forward with me. What's still super important though is I still have to follow up, because if I go another 3 weeks without talking to him, somebody else may be able to get him to answer or ask him questions he may ask somebody else questions and answer it for him, and so he may change his mind, right? So the C type, typically, it's gonna take you a long time to close them. It's gonna take you a long time, but they usually have a lot of the money, and they're willing to spend it if you answer their questions. So now we go to the S. The S stands for steady. These people are team players. They're the supporters. They're the ones that you want on your team. No matter if you're building a business, you really want an S on your team because they're loyal. They will stay with you. They will work with you. They will be a part of your team no matter what. As long as one thing, you don't allow them to dwell in their biggest fear. And their biggest fear is loss of security. They fear you, their thing, like losing security in the things that they have. And they also fear change, but they are willing to change as long as security is provided. The S's are the easiest people to sell to because you sell to them the reason why they called you out. Like for me personally, same day closes are not common in roofing, except with S's. With S's, if you have a leak in your house, your ability, if they have a leak in the house, my ability to show them the damage from the leak and what it's causing and what it's doing, what's gonna happen if you don't take care of it now, will make them take care of it ASAP. Every single time. And so same with whatever venture you're in, whether you're in business, whether your mindset, your ability to think like this or your ability to act like this is causing you to get this. And the moment you do this, it will change and give you more what? Security. And so if you can sell security to them and get them strong in whatever it is that they want to do, they will buy from you ASAP every single time. They're really, really good people too. These are great listeners. These people will listen to the I's talk all day long. And the thing is, the S will never interrupt the I. And the I will just think that they're saying a bunch, and they could be rambling, or they could be saying a bunch of great stuff. And the S's, they will listen the whole time. But they're not the best communicators. And so if they are bothered, you'll see it more in their face than you will in their words. They may say something, or may not say anything. They may look a certain way, but they won't say anything. And you always have to ask if they need clarification, because they won't. They'll say, yeah, it sounds good. I'll get back with you. But you can see it in their face that they probably don't want to buy it from you. So their S's, they're the ones that you have to say, does that make sense? Is there anything that you need clarification with? And they're like, well, actually, now that you've given me an opportunity to talk, yeah, here's what it is. Also, if you give an S an opportunity to talk, they will end up rambling because they don't usually get that opportunity. They're the easiest people to just talk over and to make sure that you can get whatever you want out because they'll listen the whole time. So you have to also be mindful. If you do let them talk, they will ramble. And I'm not saying to interrupt them, but it's just something to be mindful of with an S. S's, it's also super important that you create time for emotion because they're emotional characters. They're emotional beings. A perfect example with my mother. My mom was really sick for the past. She's been doing, by the grace of God, she's doing fine now. But she was in a very tough mental space. And we were thinking she was having Alzheimer's. Like it was just, she was doing things. I'm like, why are you doing this? And all of my siblings were telling my mom, you're doing this. Mom, you're doing that. You're doing this. And after I got certified in this, I'm like, my mother's an S to the core. No, she wouldn't go to the doctor. And I'm just like, Mom, you need to go. Everyone's like, Mom, you need to go to the doctor. Well, I found out once I learned she was an S, instead of saying, Mom, you did this, I made it emotional. I was like, Mom, I know you're probably okay, but your kids are hurting and they're worried about you. and we really just want to make sure you're okay. After that, she was like, Josh, you know what? I'm going to go to the doctor because you said your kids are hurting and I don't want my kids to hurt. Even though it was clear that your kids are worried about you, but it was the fact that I told you that and made it emotional for you. It didn't make it about you doing crazy stuff. It was more so about you emotionally having or your kids having an issue, brought that emotional connection. That's what made her go to the doctor, right? So S's are extremely emotional, but they're hardworking, and they are,
Loyal and ramble.
yes, loyal and can ramble. There we go. Can ramble. Okay, sweet. Now for the D's. Who wants to take a guess at what D stands for?
Direct.
Dominant.
Yeah, there you go. Direct, dominant, correct. These people are leaders. They're natural born leaders because they have such a strong ability to delegate. Direct, delegate. Hopefully that's correct. I'm going to act like it is, even if it's not. Cool. They are delegators. They have the best ability to say, hey, you should do this, you should do that, you should do this, and be correct about it. The problem with D's, though, is the D usually needs a C on his team because the D does not think about consequences. They just say, do it. They're solution providers. They will provide a solution, but it may not be the best solution. And the C is the type to not say do it, they're the type to think about it, right? So the D always needs to have a C on his team. His or her team, whoever the D is, right? But they're very dominant, they're very direct, they're very leader, they're very assertive in their conversation. The biggest fear of a D is fear of being taken advantage of. And so when you are selling to a D, the D is the type, they want things done the fastest way. They want it quickly. They're like, how quick can you get it to me? But they also only want it quickly until they're interested in what you're saying, and then you have the opportunity to be detailed about it. But the moment you ask a D, if you ask them, hey, can I go get this out my car? They're like, oh, I don't have the time. For some reason, they don't correlate them having the time with you going to get something else, right? So you have to be prepared with them, but you also can't ask them. You have to say, if there's something else that they need to see, oh, I forgot this in my car, I'll be right back. And you got to go get it, right? Oh, I forgot this here. Here, let me show you this real quick. Even if it takes you 10 minutes to get to it, the fact that you said, let me show you this real quick, will cause them to wait for you. But the moment you say, hey, is it okay if I, no, you're good. You don't need to do that. Nope, no, we're good. Actually, I got somewhere to go if you can wrap this up soon. They're those kind of people, right? So when you are presenting, it's important that you're detailed with them because they fear being taken advantage of. But the biggest thing that's important for them is confidence. You have to be confident. You have to be very confident with when you're saying things or selling to them, and eye contact is essential. Like the ums and the ands and the looks aways to a D says, why are you looking away from me? And so they're the type to like just stare at you like this while you're talking, and your ability to stare back at them and talk to them in a way that gives them the opportunity to say, this is a good person, is how you're going to sell them. You also cannot tell a D what to do. You have to act like you're giving them the option. So for an example, if like a client of mine that I just recently sold a roof to, he has a really big roof. He had the ability to repair a spot on his roof, but in actuality, he needed to replace his whole roof because the entire thing was done horribly in the very beginning. It was done awfully. And so when I was sitting with him, I walked him through how important it was he replaced his roof. I showed him the video on why this needs to be done. But at the end, I mentioned, but we can do the repair. And if you want to get the repair done, if it's better for you to do that, then we can provide that. It's just not my first recommendation. And he's like, well, actually, he decided in his mind, well, it actually doesn't make any sense, so I think it's just better if I just replace the whole roof. You're right. That's a good idea. You probably should replace your roof, even though his roof needed to be replaced anyways, right? So I'm not selling security to him. I'm not saying you need to replace your roof. Like, here's what's going to happen if you don't. I'm saying, here's the pros of replacing your roof. Here's the cons if you don't. But however, you'll make a wise decision because you're a D. I'm not saying that, but you'll make a wise decision because you're a D. So confidence is essential for a D. So we have the D, I, and I'm going to wrap it up in a sec. D, I, S, and C. Here's one thing that you need to know about them all. So what color? Let's go with this color. Okay. The D's and the I's are extroverts. The C's and the S's are introverts. The I's and the S's are people-oriented. The D's and the C's are task-oriented. There's something that's called, I just slipped my mind, style blends. Nobody is just a D, nobody is just a C, nobody is just an I, nobody is just an S. Everyone has a style blend to them. They're a mixture of whatever two, right? If you're a mixture of these two, they don't really care about relationship side of things. So they're not really excited to hear about what you're doing this weekend. These people, they're not really 100% task oriented. They can be just a little bit. They're more so people oriented. So their ability to like you and your ability to make sense is the reason why they'll buy from you, right? They're people oriented, task oriented. These people are extroverts. These are your CEOs, your salespeople, your entertainers. These people are the C's and the S's. These people are your tech people, your engineer people. And so even when you can recognize someone, especially in the fields that we're in, you can guide people to the right paths that they want to take just by helping them understand what their personality style is and where their personality style is best suited. So it's awesome that a C and an S wants to come with public speaking skills. It's awesome they want to do that, but maybe it's so they can talk and comfortably communicate better with people because they're not usually the best at communication. But I wouldn't sell them on the idea on coming to public speaking so they can speak in front of people because these people, they're introverts. They don't want to do that anyways. But the D's and the I's, like, they're very great at speaking. So you want to say, like, yo, public speaking is for you. You need to get in that class and hone in on that skill set because once you do that, oh my gosh, like, you'll be able to sell absolutely anything. And then the D's and the C's. One thing I want to mention about D's and C's. If you have a style blend of a D and a C and you're selling to them, they will buy quickly as long as you deliver everything that is needed. They will buy quickly. These people, and I'm dealing with this customer now, it's the same guy that I just talked about, take forever. They're not purchasing anything until they've done all the research and then until it makes sense for them. And especially if they don't necessarily need it right now. Like if they just don't need it, like the customer I'm dealing with, he has no leaks in his house. He has no issues in his house. He just knows it's old and it's time to replace, right? He ain't interested about nothing but when I make my final decision and when I do all the research that I need to do. He is extremely hardcore C, but he's also a really cool S. Yeah. So does anyone have any questions about that at all? No? Makes sense? Yeah.
Question, so how can you identify quickly, or are there some telltale patterns to how do I know who I'm dealing with?
Perfect. Great. Did you have anything else you want to ask? Really good question. So I'll tell you, it's from the greeting. From the greeting, you can know. The D's, get straight to the point. It's, hey, how are you? Okay, so here's what's going on. Get straight to the point. Straight to the point. The C's do more than get straight to the point. It's say, hey, how you doing? Good. Exactly. What? Good. I'm doing good. They're not interested in asking you like how you're doing. They don't want to hear any of that. You get to their heart quickly by being very knowledgeable ASAP. Like, hey, I have something valuable for you. Here's what it is, right? So C's, they are extremely direct. Direct. Won't, I'm going to add this in here. Won't ask, how are you? Okay. The I's, they're the type where you say, Hey, how you doing? Well, I was doing great, but these ice on the road all of a sudden, like my car was sliding. It's so funny. My grandmother's in town this weekend, and we're gonna be spending time. All I did was ask, how are you? And they're gonna tell you their life stories off the first words. So we'll tell you life story from hi, yeah. Hi, how are you? Wow, they're just excited, right? The S's, you can tell a S because they are, remember, their biggest fear is loss of security or fear of change. So when they have to make a change somewhere and when they have to do something, their response is friendly but nervous. Oh. Yes, Oh, this here. Okay. Okay. So they're extremely friendly but nervous. So their response is like, hey, how you doing? I'm doing good. I'm doing good. How are you? Good, good. That's awesome. Yeah, they're very soft and melatonin because they are kind of nervous. Perfect example. There is an S that she had a repair that hurt. So I don't know if any of you have experienced this at all, but insurance is dropping everybody for you don't have if your roof is like 5 months old. No, I'm just kidding. But like they're dropping people like this. So her insurance company reached out to her. She was very like distraught because she has a repair and they somehow flew a drone and noticed this. And so they're telling her she needs to get these things fixed. Well, I could tell. Now, unfortunately, like it just is what it is. It's the truth. I'm a black man with a beard. And so she was a very, very small white lady and she was really, really cool, right? But she was a little anxious and I could see it in her face. So the first thing I did was I didn't give her straight on eye contact and I had to lower my tone to match hers. Because when she opened the door, it was her face was really red. Hey, but it wasn't because she was scared of me. It was more so of the whole scenario just in general. Just like it's overwhelming, right? I have to do something about this roof and it's very tough. And so I was gonna sell her a repair, but my ability to, because she really needed a new roof. It wasn't just to say like, oh, I'm trying to get a new roof out of her. It was this roof, like I could really give you a repair, but like you really need a new roof. It's in bad condition and they may not cover you anyways, right? So my ability to approach her just when she opened the door, I knew it. Hey, how you doing? Just looking at the ceiling, seeing if I could see any leaks, giving her a chance to speak and get comfortable. And then after I lowered my tone, okay, awesome. So here's what I'm gonna do. Blah 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 blah. She's just she starts warming up and she goes from this person and kind of creeps up the line a little bit and just like, oh yeah, now we're talking about her cats and stuff. And now she's having fun, right? She's having a good time. But you can notice them because they're very, very nervous. They're nervous, but they're friendly. Eyes are, they will talk to anybody. You got a gun, hold it on your hip. They will come talk to you and say hello. They don't care about none of that. The D's get straight to the point. D's get straight to the point. They're like, oh yeah, how you doing? Oh, awesome, cool, cool. All right, so cool. Just want to show you this. And you can get personal with the D because usually they are style blends with an I, so they have some I in them most of the time. Or if they have a C in them, like yeah, you'll get more of the C side the less they trust you. Say that. They'll get more of the C side the less they trust you. So hopefully that helped out.
It did for sure.
Awesome.
And
Sweet.
For the folks that are watching this video, that maybe they're in the roofing business, or maybe even somebody that wants to be better at sales, or they have a team of sales professionals that they want to improve. What's the best way? Do you do private coaching, group classes, sales training, any of that type of stuff?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So there are multiple ways that you can learn. One thing that I'm most passionate about is bringing communication back to the house. So that's the one-on-one coaching. And the way that we do that is through DISC assessments. So you can get served the DISC assessment, you'll take it, you'll get a full analysis of genuinely what your strengths and weaknesses are. And then in the one-on-one coaching, we provide a solution to ensure how can I build better communication with my partner, with my children, with my family, or the friends that I have. So that's the one-on-one coaching option we have. We also do event planning. And so maybe you're having a function with your company, and maybe communication is the struggle with your company. Like you just can't get along with each other. Well, Wisdom with Josh will come out, we'll host an event, a very fun and detailed event where it is catered to your business, but we incorporate communication strategies and tactics to help you understand how to talk to each other. I just recently did a vision board party with some members of the community of our church. So there's multiple different churches. It's called the 50 plus singles, widows, and widowers. And we did vision board party. And it was one of the most fascinating, fun events. Everybody really, really enjoyed themselves. I got a bunch of video testimonials because people really had a fun time. But the idea is to cater it to what you desire while implementing communication strategies. So that's one of the options. And then we have corporate training, where you have an office, you have a team, and you need to sell better. You need to close deals. Well, I work with the #1 roofing company in Cobb County. We're Georgia Roof Advisors. Last year, we closed at a 49% closing rate as a company. I closed at a 51% closing rate. One of my the other top sales guy, he closed at a 49%. So our company, just in general, we implement DISC. We all practice these things. I'm one of the only ones that got certified because I got really, really passionate about this. I'm like, how can we help people in their life? But I help teams become better sellers. I help you be able to go out to your homeowner, to your whoever you're selling to, and understand who you're talking to. And then we also implement sales strategies, like a specific sales process. The sales process for everything, and everyone needs to know that sales process. And so if you don't have a sales process, none of this matters. You need a sales process, but once you have a sales process, you can stop wasting time. Biggest thing to help you with the sales process and wasting time aspect, right? For a C, you will spend a ton of time presenting the solution. With an S, you'll spend a ton of time presenting the problem. And so if you go to a C presenting the problem all day long and not presenting a solution to them, you lost the sale off the rip. So how do you know that? How can you identify how to do that? That's what we do when we come train. So those are the different ways. We got one-on-one coaching, we have family group coaching, we have event planning, and then corporate training. If any of you are ever interested in that, you can email me at wisdomwithjosh18@gmail.com. And just email I'm ready, and we'll set up a consultation, and we'll go from there. The website will be launched soon. So website will be launched soon. You'll be able to book straight through the website. Cool. Well, other than that, thank you for having me, and I greatly appreciate it.